Welcome back to No Sugar, no sugarista, no sugar mama. Hi everyone, welcome back to No Sugar with Everything Kraus. Happy Tuesday. No, I hate when I say happy. You know what? We'll just keep going. I don't know why I say Happy Tuesday. Like, not everyone listens on a Tuesday.
I didn't even think of that. I didn't know why you stuttered there. I was like, why is she worried about
Because
that?
in the last recording when I was editing, it was I caught myself. I'm like, no, I don't want to say Happy Tuesday, and I'm like, it's fine. Like you can say it. But like,
Well, this is your sign that if you're listening on any other day of the week, you should listen on Tuesday.
yes, and if not,
We will
happy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yes, please listen whenever it is available for you.
Yes, we are always available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, on YouTube.
Okay. So today's episode was brought to us by a listener, a friend, and it's something that we think about a lot. I just don't think we ever thought about bringing it to the podcast. And I love always getting those suggestions, but just because it shows us that other people do wonder the same thing. And I feel like this topic in particular is a big one for Kateri and I. So we'll be discussing how to balance being a feminine woman, but also having the ambition and drive and want to be a successful woman as well, you know?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like Isabel said, this is definitely something we both think about a lot, and we talk to each other a lot about it. We're obviously both not in a position where we're married and have a family, so it's kind of hard to talk on experience in that sense, but you know, that's the part of growing and getting older is going through these conversations with each other of just realizing like what do I want for my future?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we both, you know, we balance on both ends of the spectrum and we don't know how to find an in between sometimes, or we don't know if it's available to us to be able to find an in between. But that's kind of why we want to talk about it, is because there really is no wrong answer. And you can either completely agree with us in this conversation or completely disagree with us, and that's okay. It's really whatever you want to choose. But just opening the table and the floor to our listeners, if you do feel a similar way, to knowing, like, just knowing that one, Isabel and I also have these stressors and anxieties about it. And a listener gave us this idea. So there's other people out there that also are thinking this way or feeling this way. So you're not alone in that in that sense.
So maybe we should just start with, what do we mean by a feminine woman? I feel like the alpha, the ambition, the drive is kind of very clear, but maybe
Mhm.
we should describe to our listeners what exactly is in our mind when we think of what a feminine woman is.
Mhm. So for me personally, and this might come as a shock to some people, is when I say this, but I truly feel like I am a feminist, but not the type of feminist that society puts with that word, you know,
Mhm.
not that same matchup. I view feminism and feminine empowerment and all of that as, you know, really tapping into our womanhood, tapping into simplicity and love and nurturing and being a mother, you know, tapping into creativity and, you know, just embracing who we are to our deepest core. I
Mhm.
feel like every woman has that, and it just needs to be unlocked. So I'm a feminist in the sense that I want all women to embrace that, embrace their feminine energy, because it exists for a reason. You know, like we
Yeah.
have this softer spot, we have this more like loving and nurturing ability to us, and that didn't just happen from chance. Like that happened for
No.
a reason, truly.
Yeah, and I'm happy that you brought it up as, like, it is something that is a part of us as women, a part of every single woman on this planet. It is, as we believe, how God created us, and I think that really also just emphasizes, like, I truly believe that God made us this way for a reason. And I honestly completely agree with you, Gutierrez, because I truly do think that is feminism at the heart. When you look
Mhm.
at what the word feminism is, as we just described, that's how we were innately born with those abilities. And I think where society went wrong was just how they changed the meaning of that word. You know, not to bring it back, but pre-women's rights movements, pre-1960s, that time period, women really were dependent on the male. You know, they didn't have much of a role, I would say. They didn't really have a value. They were kind of just there. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, I didn't live through that time period, but from what is preached in the history textbooks, that is how it is painted.
Mhm.
So I can't be fact checked on that. But I do know that women really did have, you know, little to any response, like just really no respect. And I
Mhm.
completely agreed with that movement. You know, obviously, we wanted equality, and I completely agree with that. But I think society kind of ran with it too far, and I think the initial movement was almost lost as it's progressed over the years. You know, like the
Mhm.
initial want for a woman to just be something more than just no value
Just shows
is
respect, yeah.
yeah, just to have respect. That was the initial reason I think for the movement, and I think they can kind of completely lost that and went too far with it, where as now they start preaching, "No, we wanted equality with men. We
Mm.
wanna be equal to men." Yes, but I think that they wanna be too equal in a sense of, "I can do the same job men can. I can go out and do this. I can do that. The man can stay home and cook." Like, that's what they meant by being equal, and I think that got lost in
Mhm.
translation. And I really just do think that's where society took it a little too far because I don't think women were meant to be equal in a sense to a man as equal to do the same job, equal to go out and do this, equal to provide for the family. I think that they were supposed to be equal in a different way. I think they're supposed to be equal and as they brought a different sense of values to the table. You know, like the woman was the caretaker, the men went out and worked, and the woman stayed home and provided for the family. So the man had a nice warm meal to come home to, but he was the one able to pay for it because he did that long work. I just felt like it was such a great compliment between the
Mhm.
two.
Yeah, like, a husband and wife that each, like you just said, brought different values, different responsibilities to the table, and the woman was equally as important as the man, and that's still to this day. Like, I'm a firm believer in that, but I just feel like they have different values, just like you might bring different values to the table than I do in this podcast, right? So
Mhm.
I I believe that as well, and I think that might be controversial for some people to maybe hear, but it's not saying like, "Oh, we don't think woman can do the same thing a man can do." I'm not saying like you can't go get the same job a man can do. Like, we've seen it. Women can outwork men too. Like, that's just
Yeah,
how society is. But like you said, I feel like society has this agenda of like pushing it so much that we lose we lose a lot of those men wanting to do it
yeah,
because are trying to compete with the people they're also trying to start a life with and
exactly.
start a
And
family with. So it's like, what are they supposed to do? Back up and bow down, or try and take the upper hand on their wife, you know?
yeah, and I think that also leads to a problem with it today too. Like it's just as much in the hands of the men as it is in the woman. You know,
Mhm,
we can't blame all the women because there is a lack of alpha males out there. I
mhm,
personally think so, but I also think that there's a lack of feminine women out there. And because there's a lack on both ends, these pairs that are pairing up these days just aren't aligning. They're not bringing different things to the table whereas they're bringing the same and they're kind of lacking other things in their life. And
mhm,
I think it's like I just think what you said, like there's a lack of men wanting to do it because they don't have that woman at home, those kids at home that is nurturing, that is taking care of him to want to provide for. You know,
mhm,
he has a woman that may be out there working and girl bossing and thinking she's all that and thinking she doesn't need him. So what's his motivation then? You
mhm,
know? Like
exactly.
so that's just a side point there, but I also wanted to touch on what you just said about kind of how feminists like what you said about how it can be perceived. I think a lot of feminists in today perceive as when men want to be the alpha, which is something that I so admire. I admire when a man wants to take control and wants to protect me and provide for me. I think it's a sign of love.
Well,
I don't take it as a sign of disrespect or that I can't do it. And I think
no,
go ahead.
because it's innately in them as well. Like, just like
Mhm.
we have these feminine urges innately in us, that's how men feel as well.
And I think women today perceive this completely wrong. I think they perceive it as a man telling a woman that we can't do it. We aren't able to work the same job as them. We're meant to be cooking and meant to be a mom because we can't do the same things that men do. And it's a form of toxic masculinity and all that. Everything that, the feminist era really does say today. I think they're seeing it completely wrong. I don't agree with that. I think that it's truly like what we just said, out of love. It is their duty. It is the innate man and the innate alpha within them to want to do that. And I just would never get offended by that. And I think that's why most women, they push woman empowerment, yet I feel like they're really empowering the wrong thing.
I do. I agree. That's a great way of putting it because when you put a woman, and now listen, this is to say, like you said, we are lacking a lot of alpha men, right? I think there's a lot of different factors that go into that, and I'm not going to talk about it because
Yeah, I could go into a rabbit hole
I
on
don't want to
that.
get canceled just yet. But I feel like like there are women out there who are single moms, right? They might not have a fatherly figure, or they might not have a husband, or the father of their children there helping. So they need to take care of the family and also get their ass to work and grind.
Mhm.
And I have so much respect for those women, but that doesn't mean they don't
Absolutely.
deserve exactly what we're talking about.
Well,
It's just shame on society, and it's shame on the men in our society for putting a woman in that position. And I know there's so
exactly.
many women that go through that, and I respect them immensely because I can't even imagine what that is like to have to bear both crosses, but
Well, and
God created women and men. There's
yeah,
2 crosses to bear, each one take,
exactly.
you know?
And exactly as you just said, God created man and woman for a reason. Men and women were never meant to be equally the same. I think they were meant to be equally different. We have different values to bring to the table. We have different qualities that are innately in us, and that's what makes us such a beautiful pair. But touching on what you said about shame on society, and there are single mothers and single moms out there who are doing both. I have actually had so many thoughts on that because I was thinking about this topic, and I was like, I don't want to sound like I'm not appreciative of those women, because they do a lot, and that is why they believe that women are equal. Women can do it all because they've had to do it all. And I think you're spot on with shame on society, because of the lack of the alpha presence, the woman had to do it. And we've now created this culture of there are a ton of single moms out there who are slaving away just to provide food on the table. And, they're now raising children that have seen her work and sweat to be able to provide for them, who maybe are feeling more passionate about, yeah, like this is what my mom did. Like, I'm going to do the same because I'm going to be a
Mhm,
girl boss. And like, it's creating kind of a ripple effect. I'm almost thinking where if that woman never had such a beta male presence in her life, a man that didn't leave her behind to struggle, then she would be able to embrace that divine feminine. But she's not able to. It's the lack of the male alpha, the lack of the alpha presence that really
mhm,
is creating the problem. And I'm not placing the blame on the men. I'm actually shaming society in general, because society is creating men that don't want to be an alpha, because
mhm,
there's also now it's just a big ripple. Like, now there's these women who are raising these kids who now want to be a girl boss. So a man has no want to take care of the woman because she wants to be a girl boss.
mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's going back and forth between men and women. We just aren't complimenting each other in today's society, is what I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's funny because even, like, as we're talking about all this, I'm like, "Oh, am I nervous to be even saying all this? Like, are we supposed to be saying this?" And it's like, I don't wanna feel, like, afraid to talk the honest truth about just simple things like this, like, I get it's a complex issue, but it's like, these are just it's a simple concept that like you said, I feel like it's gotten so twisted over the years, and I just feel like society over the past, like, 10 years has taken everything to such an extreme
Yeah.
that they make it so us even saying things like this feels wrong.
Yeah.
Like, that
Like,
we
I
can't even say it without feeling like I'm going to get canceled, or I'm going to, like, lose every person in my life because like, I don't
yeah.
know, it just they make it feel like I'm guilty for saying something when this is something I truly believe in.
And I
Like,
don't
I don't
yeah.
know.
And I don't think it's bad to believe in it. Like, I truly don't understand why we would have to be afraid, you know what I mean? Like, because there is that fear there. I completely feel it as well, and I don't understand why there are people out there who would shame us. Like, I don't think a woman Does a woman cooking for her man and setting a beautiful environment for him to come home to after he grinded and sweat and worked all day to provide and put that food on the table, does a woman doing that for a man sound all that terrible? I don't think it does. Like, it's plain and simple. I just don't think that's derogatory. I don't think it looks down on women at all. I think it's beautiful that the woman can do that for him. That's the way that she can
Mhm.
provide love and peace in his life.
Well, literally, even me, like, I got in my relationship and it was like a little trigger went off to immediately want to start doing things like that for my boyfriend.
Mhm.
Like, we're not even living together, and I still have this, like, fire inside of me to be able to nurture him in a way so he can succeed more in
Yeah.
a way that is manly and that he wants, right? Like, and I didn't know I was gonna feel that way, but as soon as I like, literally as soon as I entered the relationship, I'm like, "How can I take care of him?" Right? Like,
Mhm.
it was like a trigger went off in my, like, mind that was like, "Okay, let's, like, get going." So that just came with it, you know?
It's literally the feminine energy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we all have it,
Mhm.
and some of us will embrace it and some of us won't, and I think that's the dilemma that we're facing here today.
Well, and okay, so we say all of this as like we said, there is no right or wrong, and you might have listened to the first 5 minutes and probably maybe stopped, so you're not even hearing this, or you've listened to this entire thing, you're like, "Where is this going? It seems pretty one-sided." We say all that to kind of preface why we have a
Yeah.
battle in our minds of the battle of the bands, the battle between I don't know why that just came in my
That
mind.
literally you sounded just like the battle of the bands.
Like, I literally couldn't stop.
I just flashed
Um,
to us on the couch watching it.
yeah,
Remember when we were, like, cuddled up? Anyway.
it's such a good movie, I honestly am in the mood for it. Anyway, the battle between, just wanting to, like, not work and be at home and have the husband provide, and also wanting to be able to, 1, provide for myself, like, make my own money, wanting to start my own company, be my own boss. I feel like our family as a whole has so much entrepreneurial spirit within us that, like, we can't help but want more for ourselves.
Mhm.
Like, when we think about our future, and yeah, it's hard because, like, I say all that and I firmly believe it, but then there's such a part of me that's like, "But I want both." Like, I wanna be able to make that decision, and I wanna be able to
Yeah.
be with a partner that supports me no matter what the decision is, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but it never I think we also preface it that way because it never comes from a place of, "I want that to prove the man wrong." You
Mhm.
know? Like,
It's
it's
never out of
not
a
like,
place of
"I'm
being
gonna do this because 'cause I'm gonna go show all the men of society that I can do this, that I can be a CEO of a company." I have no doubt that a woman can run a company, like, none
yeah.
at all, but mine comes from more like a personal drive for
Yeah.
myself and for my future and my family's future.
But I honestly wish I could emphasize every single word that you just said
Mhm,
because I completely agree. I think I feel exactly the same, probably because Kateri and I have had obviously many, many conversations about this. So our thoughts are very aligned on it. But I think what you said is just spot on in the sense of, we didn't say all this to make it one sided. We said it because these are our beliefs. It's how we were raised. I feel like we were raised in a very traditional family and growing up seeing that, it's created these set of beliefs, but now we're here with the dilemma of we do wanna be. We
mhm,
are we are natural alpha woman, I would say, like what you said about our family. We are very driven, we're very entrepreneurial, and it's difficult for us because it does align with our beliefs in a sense of what you just said, where we don't do it out of spite of the man or to show that girls can do it too. We do it because we just have these goals and these visions. Like, I can't really picture a life of me not like, achieving these dreams that I
yeah,
have,
or not like a
and
yeah, not pursuing what
not
we
pursuing
dream
them.
about now, yeah.
It feels like it goes against everything that is who I am. That is the one that says, like, "Believe in yourself, don't doubt yourself, like, go try new things, you can do anything you want." Like,
Mhm,
all of those things that we do stand by, it just feels like I'm so in between it because I'm like, I do want all of that so unbelievably badly, but I do want to be the caretaker, and I just I honestly don't know how to balance it.
mhm.
I feel like it's been hard for us because it almost feels like our paths aren't really aligning. Like
Mhm.
we don't have everyone talks about visions that they have, and I feel like I have visions, but I have 2 different visions. Where do they how do they come into one? And I feel
Mhm.
like until those come into one, things won't start happening for me. Things won't start progressing, and I just don't like we're talking about balance it, to be completely honest, I don't know how to. I
Yeah.
can't figure it out. Like I can't I feel too alpha sometimes. I get worried. I'm like, "Oh my god, am I not
Mhm.
gonna be that caretaker? Because I wanna be."
No, I know. I feel like, obviously a lot of our listeners are younger, so they're not married and don't have a family, and I mean younger as in our age.
Mhm.
And, I feel like to start is almost like choose your partner wisely and be willing to have conversations with them. Like, I've made it very clear to Tyler that I am on both ends, right? Like, I think about both sides often, but, like, there's not a doubt in my mind that if it were to come to it if I wanted to, like, work really hard and just have my own business while also trying to be not trying, but also being a mother, like, he wouldn't support that, right? Like, I know he would. And if it came to it when I was, like, working, it was like, "You know what? I'm ready to take a step back. Like, I wanna be at home. I wanna take care of the house, take care of the family, and be, like, the heart of the home." He would also support that. So I feel like you need to take a look at your partner, and if you have a conversation like that with your partner and he's not willing to support both of those roles or both of those options for yourself now, because we're so young, so we don't know what's going to come in the next 10 years. Like, we don't know where we're going to be in business. Who knows? So just the idea, like, he needs to be able to support that idea, and if he doesn't, like, and it's something that you want, it's not the guy for you, and that's okay. Like, that's a
Yeah.
hard truth that you got to face.
I completely agree because choosing your I agree with everything you've been saying.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But choosing your partner really is so important for that reason because not just anyone is going to be okay with both options, and
Mhm.
I think a real alpha, a real man will be okay with both of those options because regardless of what option you go with, he will be there to be the man of the house.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that is the solution. I often think right now I don't have a boyfriend, right? Like I don't have this man in my life. So for me it's a little bit different because I feel like sometimes I lack that alpha presence of knowing that I have a man to take care of me with whatever route I do go down. But
Mhm.
because I don't have a man right now and I don't have the security of knowing that, I often embrace more of this alpha side of me
Mhm.
because I don't have someone to promise that for me. So I don't really feel like the femininity is an option right now.
Besides our brothers.
Besides our brothers, and to be completely honest, they are the alphas in my life. They're who inspired this kind of way of thinking within me and within you, I think, as well.
Mhm.
Just dating to when I'm in Cape May with Xander or Joseph, the thought of me taking out my card and buying a coffee with them is ridiculous. My
It's like
brothers would
blasphemy. They,
it's
like
like, yeah, like, oh my god, my brothers would never expect that from Katia and I because they just we do so much for them. We cook all
Mhm.
their dinners. We do their laundry. We make their beds when they come down. We do all of that because we love them, and their way of caring for us is by always providing for us in
Mhm.
the financial sense and
Mhm.
taking care of us when we're not in the home. And because I don't have that presence in my life, my brother's Everett, but because I don't have my own individual person like that in my life, I often feel and get stressed and worried about like, oh my God, how am I going to be a mom? And how am I going to do this too? Because I don't have the security
Mhm.
that a man's going to support both options. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? But
Yeah.
I think that that kind of went on a little bit of a tangent, but I think the point I'm trying to make from what Kateri said is just the man needs to be okay with both options because he just knows that he's going to
Mhm.
be the provider.
Yeah.
Like I just think a provider in life is essential.
And I feel like the ultimate goal too is to eventually get to a point, say, me and as well, we're passionate about no sugar. We're passionate about everything Kraus. And we have these ideas and these goals in our mind of where we want to take it. And at the end of the day, what I personally believe is like the dream is to be able to be in a position where we aren't the center of it. So if there comes a time where I want to step back, the business is still thriving and going on its own, right? Like,
Mhm.
so I have that chance. But then you think about the timeline of things like, okay, I'm 24. Let's do the math. When am I having kids? Can't predict the future, but it's like I don't have that much time to build a business. Shit, better get going. So then it's like, boom, alpha starts where you just want to drive, you want to go, 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 go.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a constant back and forth of wanting that wealth and that goal and that drive so badly, and then also being like, oh, but I could potentially getting married in X amount of years and having kids, so I'm just gonna like sit back and enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Right? Like of just being like, whatever happens, happens. Or of like, you know what, I might just stick with teaching yoga for the rest of my life and be okay with it. Cause there's a part of me that is okay with that. You know, it's like
Yeah.
there's so many different avenues I feel like my brain goes down. And I wish we had more of like a solution of how we deal with it. But until the time comes and we're living in the very moment, I
Yeah.
don't think we'll have one.
Yeah. I don't think we will either because it's just like what you said, my mind goes down a million different avenues too. And I think ultimately my goal is to find a man that is I always just I'd let it but find a man that is the alpha that will be the provider. So that way when I do pursue my girl boss side of me, I guess, it'll really be for me. It won't
Mhm.
be changed into what girl bossing is today, where it's the means of providing for the family. It'll be something that I enjoy and I love. And I think that'll go hand in hand with the feminine energy and it'll actually end up enhancing my feminine energy because I won't be so stressed and like freaking out about money and trying to provide for myself. It'll more be, oh, I'm doing this because I love it. It's like my
Yeah.
creative side, like
Yeah.
like the feminine woman in me. And I think it'll complement if the man is there. So I think that's like what I'm working towards. It's kind of the thought process just because I'm
No,
a
yeah,
type of
that's a
person
good
who
point.
like needs to have my thoughts straight. So this
Mhm.
is something I can't leave open-ended as much as it is. I want to know as much as I can. So I'm looking for an alpha who's going to be the caretaker going no, not going to, I'm the caretaker. Who's going to be the provider so I can be the caretaker, but also pursue any avenue I want, whether that be just, oh, okay, I do just want to be a mom. Oh, no, never mind. I did want to expand this business more. So I have time to do that.
Mhm.
Like, whatever it may be, you know?
And I think I don't this thought just popped into my mind. There's a lot of every like married couple in our lives, like in our family, the men and woman are both working. And this is no shit on anyone, any female that's working, right? But I also know that any male that I'm talking about, if it came down to it where that woman could not work anymore and needed to stay home or whatever it was, that male would be like, I got your back. It's okay. I have this family, right? Like,
Mhm.
and that's the type of family we were raised in. And I'm so grateful for that. Like, I know no matter what, dad's got mom's back and
Yeah.
mom's got dad's back as well. Like, it's still vice versa. But so
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that in there because there is no shit on women who are working. Like, it's hard.
It's
Today's
more
society, it's hard. You need freaking money. Like, you can't
yeah,
not, like,
to be
especially everything going on. It's like, inflation, man. We need some more
yeah,
money.
like,
So
it's
there's nothing
serious.
wrong with that, but it's also knowing that, like, no matter what you decide to do or say something happens where you're kind of forced not to work and then you're able to tap into that feminine side, your man is gonna be okay with that, and he's not gonna freak out at you for not having an income stream because he understands your new role in the family.
Exactly, and I think that's exactly why we're even saying all this. It's not offensive to the women who do wanna be girl bosses. It's not out of judgment, it's more out of care because
Mhm,
I want them to embrace their femininity. Like, I don't think that women can fully embrace it until they have that alpha there to promise them that.
mhm,
And a lot of these women don't, and they're not embracing their femininity because they can't. They have these blockers on because they do need to worry about the bills, like you just
yeah,
said. And I think that's also just like a big part of the problem. I don't know. It's really sad to see. And I think that's why we emphasize it so much is because out of the bottom of my heart, I just want it for all women. I want them to be a mom if they wanna be a mom. I want them to watch Hallmark movies if they wanna watch Hallmark movies. Like,
mhm,
that's who women are at heart. We are emotional beings. We have way more complex thought systems. Like, we are not meant to be grit, go, 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 deal with the punches, overcome the obstacles. We're not meant to do that. We're meant to sit on the couch and eat popcorn and that you know what I mean? Like, that's how I think of it, and that's not to say we obviously emphasizing that. It's not to say that women can't do it. It's just we shouldn't have to sometimes, we're
mhm.
not we're not built to deal with the same repercussions. We're not built
Mhm.
to deal with that stress and that anxiety and that workload the same. So it
Yeah.
actually, I think, just worsens women.
Mhm. As well for president. Set these rules and get him in motion. It was funny, I was watching this reel the other day, and it was kinda like a remix reel, so the original reel started talking, and the guy was like, "Women aren't meant to be in a corporate office working 9 to 5 at a desk all day," like, blah, blah, going off, and this girl comes on the screen, and she's like, "I think we should start listening to men more." Men are right, and it was just so funny, like, the way she came on and said it, it was just like it was just
That
hilarious, and
wait,
it was the type of comedy that I feel like we need around this topic, but yeah, it was
yeah,
really
because
good.
it just shows, like, it really doesn't have to be as difficult as it is. Like, listen to that
Mhm.
woman right there.
Yeah,
There's a reason that none of us wanna work, or
I
not
know.
none of us wanna work, but there's
Wait,
a reason.
I
There's a
saw
reason.
I saw another one where the girl was like, "This work's starting to feel like I do belong in the kitchen." It's like, literally me every time I
Literally,
start working.
like literally
I'm
me,
like
like, I'm just like, "Dad, you need breakfast?" Like, I'd
yeah,
much rather be doing that right now.
yeah, I
So, I
know.
just think it just adds a little bit of a playful side of, like, women do maybe not all women, I'm not gonna speak for all women, but women like us,
Mhm,
me, Kateri in particular, I do want that life, and there are moments when I just don't wanna work, and
mhm.
I do wanna belong in the kitchen, and I think that's okay, and it's funny, and it's the natural woman in us, and I don't think it should be looked down upon. I am against looking down upon women for that. I don't
Mhm.
look down upon the women that do work, so they shouldn't look down upon me for sharing different views and having a different mindset of what being a feminist is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel like my end viewpoint on all of it is I'm not gonna judge anyone on their decisions or what they're maybe forced to have to do to survive in this world, so I don't wanna be judged, and I
Yeah,
expect that, I expect it to be the same across the board, like, I truly feel like, wherever you end up, if you're just making the most of it, like, you have to do you. At the end of the day, you gotta do what works for you, and we will be very blessed human beings if we end up the way we wanna end up in our future, and if we can have a company or, be boss woman while still also tapping into feminine energy, awesome. If we have to end up choosing one, like, we'll do that when we get there. But you gotta give people a little bit of grace to have their own opinions and viewpoints, and yeah, like, people not everyone's the same, that's what makes the freaking world go round.
exactly. So this balance, it is very difficult to work through, but ultimately, I'm a believer that you really can have both, which is why it is so important to pay attention to who you are picking to spend the rest of your life with. It's probably going to be the most important decision in your life, but I think if you choose wisely and choose someone that, whatever your thoughts on this may be, whatever avenue you want to go down, like Kateri said, everyone is different. Having and making sure that the person that is with you supports all of that and knows all of that. Set those thoughts out right away and get the record straight, and you can have the exact life that you want. Like, I know that this balance will not be a thought in my head in the future because I am going to have that alpha who does support me as the caretaker, but also supports my want to be more and want to achieve my goals, because that is very natural within us. Like,
Yeah, we all have goals, we all have ambitions, and it'd be a shame to not try and live up to your potential by achieving them. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say, like, we talk a lot about achieving your goals and believing in yourself. I'm a firm believer in that, and one of
mhm.
my goals is to be a mother, so I am excited to achieve that, you know what I mean? Like
So that's ultimately just why we did an episode like this, because
mhm,
we have those goals and we also have this desire to be a mother, a strong desire for both of them, and we are still working through balancing it out. As you guys can tell, our thoughts are kind of all over the place on it.
literally.
We have so many thoughts spiraling at once, and there's a lot to digest. We hope this episode wasn't too harsh for you if you don't align with these beliefs. It's completely okay, and I don't want you to think that this is an attack on who you are and what you think. We kind of just wanted to really open the floor to what's going on in our heads and a different way of thinking about feminism that
Mhm.
we think got lost in translation, and it's really sad. So it was more of us trying to bring light to a new thought process, and we're going to take nothing personal. If you don't agree with us, that's completely fine. And we hope that you take nothing personal as well, because we each have our own individual thoughts and our individual ways of thinking. And like Terry said, that's what makes the world go round.
Mm-hmm. And this was one of those topics that is the reason this podcast is called No Sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not sugarcoating anything, and we weren't going to come on here and lie about how we're feeling and how we see our futures and what we feel like society has done right or done wrong, right? Like, that was just the whole premise of this entire podcast. So, like Isol said, I hope that you could take everything we said with some understanding. And yeah, if you don't agree, that's okay. And we don't expect every single person to agree with us. But anyway, sister, go ahead and tell them what to do.
That was a good transition. You like sounded like a DJ there.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, comment, follow, interact with us, please. We love you.
Help support our business that we're trying to grow.
Help support our business that we are trying to grow so we can also be women. Anywho, thank you guys for tuning in to another week with No Sugar. We love you. You love us. Don't forget to do all of the following that I just said. It is greatly appreciated.
Yes. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your week.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let Jacob Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio, or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call Jacob Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.